Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Maximizing Microsoft AVD and Windows 365 for the Enterprise. I'm Andrew with Liquidware, and I'm excited to have you all here. Before we get started, just a quick reminder that this session is being recorded, and we'll be sending the link to all registrants after the webinar. If you have any questions during the presentation, feel free to drop them in the chat or the Q&A box at any time, and we'll have someone address that for you. And make sure to stick around until the end, where we'll be giving away the Nintendo Switch 2. Just a friendly reminder, you do need to be present to win. So in this session, we'll show you how to extend Microsoft AVD and Windows 365 with enterprise-grade capabilities, including dynamic app delivery, user environment management, and advanced DEX monitoring. Learn how to go beyond the basics to boost performance, security, and scalability across your digital workspaces. We're joined today by two of our experts. We have Jason E. Smith, VP of Alliances and Product Marketing, and Jack Smith, Senior Solutions Architect. With that, I'll hand it over to Jason to get us started.
Thanks, Andrew. We're going to discuss today maximizing Microsoft AVD and Windows 365 for the enterprise, even specifically with Liquidware solutions. There's going to be some demonstrations in today's webinar, and we'll have time for Q&A. A quick overview of our solutions, and we will touch on each one of these today. We'll go a little deeper into some of the demos, but what we do is we provide digital workspace management across every way that you deliver Windows. If you look at the bottom of this graph, virtual, cloud, and physical, any way you deliver Windows, Liquidware solutions help the user be managed throughout that, know what the quality DEX is of that, be able to provide real-time remediation, and even and especially to deliver dynamic application portability there with FlexApp, Profile Unity for the user and app management, the monitoring and optimization with Stratosphere UX, and the real-time DEX remediation with Command Control. And again, the difference in what we deliver here, and you'll see this in the following slides, compared to some of the platform vendors, is that we support every way you deliver Windows, virtual, physical, and cloud. So you can dynamically move your users from one environment to the next without losing any productivity. To the subject of AVD and Windows 365, I have the following few slides. I'd like to level set us where it is in the market and how you might be kicking the tires of it, or maybe you do have something in production and you're growing that environment, or you'd like to get the most bang for your buck out of AVD and or Windows 365. Windows 365 and AVD adoption is real. We're seeing it in our accounts here at Liquidware, but adoption also seems to be gradual. A lot of enterprises are sticking with the stalwarts of Citrix and Omnissa, the way that they've delivered their platforms. We'll talk about those on the coming slides here and show a comparison real quick. But about 1/3 of Microsoft enterprise customers have used Windows 365 Cloud PC. And it's not always, as you'll see on the next slide, it's not always to replace VDI. There's some interesting new use cases in there. AVD is typically not the first cloud platform that organizations move to. They've already had some of their desktops in the cloud with some of the platforms mentioned earlier, or even the alternative ones as well. Today, 22% of enterprises run hybrid VDI, meaning a mix of both on-prem and cloud. And then when you add into that physical in other ways, another 27% plan to migrate to solutions like AVD and 365 within the next 24 months. And the VDI and DAS market as a whole grew from 24 to 25 in the numbers you see there in the billions of dollars, which show incremental progress. If you'd like to know where these facts and figures came from, almost in order, they're there across the bottom and referenced. The graph to the right shows overall cloud computing and the growth within Microsoft, and this is reflected also in the AVD and Windows 365 platforms being a similar path. I mentioned this on the previous slide, but Windows 365, also known as Cloud PC, the offering specifically for Windows 365, is now often replacing managed physical PCs, not just deployments that had been VDI, like Citrix or Omnissa. There's net new use cases that have emerged in the last few years. The growth is driven by new endpoint use cases. It gives you a PC in the cloud. It's really a good way to think about Windows 365. It's a persistent PC in the cloud that you'll need to figure out as an admin or as a consultant how you're going to manage that. It lets users have the full desktop Windows interface and be able to do just about anything they want to if you make them an admin of that machine. This approach can extend the life cycle of aging hardware. In other words, just give or have a BYOPC and then give them their official corporate laptop or a corporate desktop in the cloud, rather, as a cost-effective way to give you an alternative to PC refresh cycles. In a recent Windows blog, it's estimated 95% of work can be done virtually by this year. And we probably, if you're on this call today, you would agree with that, and you're seeing this in your own users. And this is up from just a few years ago, pre-pandemic, at 40%. Windows 365 Reserve adds backup cloud PCs, which shows Microsoft's endpoint resilience strategy. This is a way of giving you the ability to burst scale into a cloud PC type of environment. And as cited on a few data points earlier, adoption is largely fueled by contractors that you need to give an official PC to. You don't want to manage those endpoint devices. Bring your own device strategies, hybrid and remote, and disaster recovery use cases. So if something were to happen and the world gets shut down, it doesn't really shut down anymore. You're off and running into the races if you have a PC ready to go in the cloud. Now to AVD. If you're replacing Citrix or Omnissa with AVD or Windows 365, you're looking at a little bit of a different scenario. The Gartner DAS Magic Quadrant to the right is related to this discussion, but not necessarily directly in line with the points on the slide. But I did want you to see that as well, because it's very important to note that Gartner says Microsoft, of course, is a leader up to the right. And why would they be a leader? Well, they created Windows for one, right? But also the strides that they've made in recent years of opening up these types of approaches to virtual desktop computing to the masses. Citrix had led this space for a long time and continues to be a good leader with a mature offering. We're going to compare what we do at Liquidware with some of the things available on the Citrix stack, the Omnissa stack, and the Microsoft stack on the coming slide. Likewise, Omnissa joined the race in the mid-2000s and in the late 2000s with VDI and Horizon, what's now called Horizon, and App Volumes a little bit later, and continues to mature their solution. Meanwhile, Microsoft seems to be approaching the space a little bit differently with their cloud-first and fast-growing solution, to rely on ecosystem partners like Liquidware to deepen the enterprise capabilities to round them out. They do offer some solutions in these areas, like MSIX and the app attached version of that for AVD. Keeps things simple, the goal is to minimize your base images that you have when you manage an environment to deploy your applications, to give you a new way to deploy applications. But it has challenges as well. We'll address those on the next few slides. User management, largely they provide FS logics to give you more or less an all or nothing profile on disk. And they have given you Intune, and they are rapidly increasing the functionality of Intune, which gives you a solid baseline and a way to manage users, but it doesn't give you the deeper policy management and the full context awareness that you would get from full user management solutions or things that you might have been used to in the Citrix and Omnissa stacks. And then in the area of DEX intermediation, Azure Monitor and other tools in there provide surface level only type functionality, giving you a good indicator of the uptime of your machines and some of the basic health of them, but they don't drill as deep. While they have continued to partner with ecosystem partners like Liquidware, even since the platform AVD was called RDMI several years ago, to round out their solution set with best of breed. taking a look at the comparison from these major platforms, and we're not ignoring some of the smaller platforms in here, but we're going to stick with the enterprise approach in the major platforms such as Citrix and Omnissa, and then Microsoft when it comes to the differences in there for the workspace management side of the stack. Microsoft delivers the platform while Liquidware delivers enterprise class experience. And you could really say that across Citrix because Liquidware has several customers, dozens and dozens of customers across the Citrix enterprise area to round out and to add additional value in there. The same way with Omnissa as well, Liquidware adding value in there. Let's take a look at this from left to right. I'm going to build this slide out. What Citrix has in the areas of workspace management as defined by Liquidware, because we work across every way that you deploy Windows. Keep in mind, some of these things are available only inside these platform stacks, while some of the tools might be able to be licensed outside of that. But why would you, right? You may be moving from one stack to the other, or you may want a solution that works across everything in your Windows enterprise, and you don't want to have to redo applications, redo context-aware settings, redo your profiles and things like that. You need a solution set in the digital workspace management area that's dynamic and can move with the user and where your organization is, not only where they're going today, but where they're headed in the future. In the area of modern app delivery, Citrix has Citrix App Layering, and that gives them integration with their VDI for the dynamic multi-user delivery of applications. It's used by certain users out there, and in other ways, they also support other technologies, such as in Citrix Web Studio, they also support AppV. In Citrix Web Studio, last year, they added support for FlexApp, so you can assign FlexApp from Liquidware to assign dynamic applications that way. So they give users choice in those areas beyond Citrix App Layering. Citrix Profile Management gives you a good way to keep your profile in sync no matter what Citrix desktop that you log on to. And they have Workspace Environment Management for granular policies and context in the Citrix environment. Citrix Director and Citrix Analytics are used for DEX visibility and analytics across the Citrix enterprise. And then real-time remediation and support, Director Console starts to touch on some of those things with limited live session control. And of course, they have Uber Agent now as well in the area of DEX. And then in the cross-platform coverage, if you're looking at it, it's mostly Citrix-specific stack only. So all these things working within the Citrix stack. If you look at Omnissa, formerly VMware, Horizon, and the like, they offer the following things. App volumes, when you're in the advanced versions of the Horizon stack. For example, Enterprise, you'd get access to app volumes to be able to do applications there. Now, while they make app volumes available for other types of desktops, they say most of the time we found that customers sync up their app volumes licenses with Horizon. In the area of user environment management, they have DEM, formerly known as Immediate in the larger market. And it gives them policy management and context awareness controls. And again, those licenses oftentimes sync up only with your Horizon environment. DEX visibility and analytics, Horizon Insights is there, and vRealize Ops for integration, as you might often have access to those if you are in the proper stack of a Horizon, like Horizon Enterprise. In the area of real-time remediation, they have some emerging things going on there with Insights and Horizon, especially in their user endpoint management solutions that extend to that area. And then again, while some of these things may be marketed by them from time to time to be available outside the stack, oftentimes those licenses match directly up with your Horizon licenses and are difficult to break out. And if you're looking for alternatives, why would you stick with just the tools from there? Microsoft, in the meantime, with their ecosystem, gives you basic solutions and then seems to be working very well with the community, such as Liquidware, to extend the functionality of what they have to offer there. App Attach from them offers MSIX, but at the same time, integration with solutions like FlexApp that we work with them closely. We'll talk about that on the coming slide. They offer FS Logics, as mentioned earlier, to make a profile stick in Intune, but provides that basic functionality there. And you may, as an enterprise, need advanced functionality for context-aware settings. Maybe you're managing the environment with Entra ID these days, and you find that the GPP capabilities are limited, so you need something additional. In the area of DEX visibility, Azure Monitor and Endpoint Analytics is there, but oftentimes you need to go deeper in there and see things at a process and a PID level to be able to figure out the end performance in the DEX level. The real-time remediation Intune is there for remote help. You also have quick assist and things like that, but can you really start and stop processes and compare metrics and things like that? Not quite. They work with ecosystem partners like Liquidware. And then they're focused squarely in this area of AVD and Windows 365 on AVD and Windows 365. That's not completely fair, as we know a lot of these things can be used as far as Intune across the physical stack, while other things like FS Logics may be reserved for these types of environments. Now, the Liquidware stack can be added to any of these, and especially rings even more importantly true when you're moving to AVD and Windows 365, because it gives you the ability to extend the functionality of just about any of these solutions or move beyond that to a best of breed for enterprise use cases. Flex Apps there with the dynamic app containers that attach instantly to any workspace. No repackaging required, no matter what stack that if you're consulting, your client is in, or if you are an enterprise, no matter what you move to in the future. Profile Unity gives you that full user and app management across any of these as well. Full context-aware policies, the ability to do things like profile recovery, even if you're using FS Logics. You can recover those, or you can replace them with our profile disk. Stratosphere UX gives you the deep DEX analytics and diagnostics across all your workspaces, not just any one of these stacks, but everything. So you can compare, contrast, help you move, help you size from one to the next. Command Control gives you real-time remediation, being able to reach out and touch someone. So it is a help desk person's best friend, giving you live 3-second DEX metrics, the ability to run a script if you need to fix something up, the ability to compare protocols across 2 different desktops, or to switch between different ones to troubleshoot. For after all, you may be stacking Windows experiences. For example, a physical laptop getting to an AVD experience or to a Windows 365 experience, and you need to find out what's the root cause desktop, and it can do that very quickly. And then the entire suite there works across everything you see here. You don't have to rip and replace any of these. If you're a Citrix customer today and you plan to leave many of your Windows estate are on this as well, on those platforms, you can indeed do that while you move certain users to other platforms for your best use cases across the enterprise. And then Liquidware supports that. Those applications follow them no matter where they go. You know the DEX comparatives between those, and then you can rapidly troubleshoot those. Let's move into where specifically Liquidware is going to help you get the most out of your AVD and Windows 365 environments. And we're going to get to the demo really quickly here. This is the Flex App solution that I spoke about earlier. This graphic to the right shows you exactly how Flex App works in an image form, really. Your applications stay independent and can flow into whatever Windows desktop that you need. So there at the bottom, that user has access to 8 core Flex apps represented by example icons, but these could be any applications that you've packaged up easily into Flex app, and they follow that user. They are not part of the base image. They brought in just in time, or on demand, a technology that we innovated in the space 5 years ago. So it gives you that instant application delivery. When compared to Intune, and you need to wait for Intune to roll out an application, Flex apps are dynamic and it instantly happens, usually at Windows logon, but can happen at other instances during the session, post logon, or when you want that behavior to occur, or like I said, apps on demand. It has direct integration with AVD. The App Attach program, which we conceived jointly with Microsoft and then was expanded out, included integration with Flex App before any other partner. and then was rounded out, and we were all announced at the same time, but we were integrated first, and that was something that we co-developed. And we'll talk about that on a slide coming up. FlexApp packages work across all Windows desktops, as already mentioned. Cloud-ready containers are already out there, so you can test them at a moment's notice, and you can store any of these in the cloud of your choice. In this case, most often Azure Cloud. Gives you faster onboarding, especially if you're already using Liquidware solutions in any of the other ways you deliver Windows. As soon as you bring a new user into AVD or Windows 365, they're lit up and they're ready to go with the applications that they need if you're delivering them with FlexApp. And then the seamless support of Entra ID is not something that we just cooked up in recent weeks. It's something that we saw with the advent of work from home being expanded and Entra ID coming on the scene fast. And now you can deploy your apps directly through that to your work from home and remote users, no matter how you're managing, even in hybrid environments. So we've long supported that. This is a screenshot of Azure App Attach. And Jack, I'm going to ask for your thoughts on this, and you want to talk them through the screenshot, and then we're going to move on to a demonstration of FlexApp.
Sure. So within the App Attach environment, we're actually syncing our inventory of the Profile Unity side directly into the App Attach interface. Now, once it's in that interface, you can then assign those applications to the users and machines that you'd like. When those systems boot up, the App Attach process kicks in, the FlexApp layers down into the operating system, and you have yourself an app.
Thanks. So it gives you a single pane of glass if you want to stay in the Azure control plane to assign your FlexApp. So there's no need to come back over to our console. So App Attach, just a quick recap of where Microsoft went with that. Initially, it was MSIX App Attach, and then when they added Liquidware and other options, they had called the program App Attach in general. So you come in here and then you match up FlexApp with this, and again, gives you that single console. So the administrator of the AVD environment has this ability for assigning apps without coming back over to our Liquidware console, which you'll see in the demo here in a moment. The full way to roll out Liquidware FlexApp to any desktop. Jack, would you like to share your screen and start today's demo of FlexApp in these environments that we discussed?
Sure. So what we're looking at here is Profile Unity, and within Profile Unity there is FlexApp. So let's go to more of a cloud-based storage from Azure. And I've got, in this case, two applications. I have my Chrome and I have my Firefox that are available. Now, when I want to select or assign these applications, if I choose no filter, it just goes to everybody. That's simple enough. If I go into my filters, I can create a bunch of different things or criteria as to what equals the user who needs the application, including things like Entra ID groups or in this case, Azure tenants. But there's a whole list of things. So I can utilize stuff like it's this Entra group with this computer name and this IP range, however you want to do it, to add these pieces together and say, this is true. You get this application based on that context. Then it's a matter of combining the two items together, the filter, the application, and then deploying that configuration out. In this case, I'm actually deploying my configuration out to Azure Storage. So it's going to write up directly into the Azure Storage environment. Now, once that's all said and done, I just log into my workstation. In this case, I'm going to be logging into an AVD workstation, which is going to bring those applications down. But I can also do that with a desktop or Windows 360 workstation, all the same. This AVD workstation is actually Entra only joined. I can also show a hybrid Windows 365 desktop that is obviously going to be a hybrid joined workstation. And I probably should have preloaded this one because it's going to take a while. So let's connect out to 360 and see if that boots up any faster. Other items beyond just the simple FlexApps themselves are all the other policy components. So in this case, I may want to do environmental variables. I may want to do some registry injections. I may want to do some folder redirections. I may want to add some shortcuts in. All of these items can be utilized within Profile Unity and enhance what might be missing in the Intune interface. So these types of things are not in the Intune interface. Another thing we also have the ability to do is utilize ADM templates that might be on your current group policy, pull them into Profile Unity and assign those settings. So there we have some scripts up on our Sparks pages that allow you to identify the ADMX related to the policy and automatically add that ADMX and policy into Profile Unity so that you can utilize whatever policies and whatever filters that you need around that. Now, oh, there we go. All right. Let's see which one I'm going to be coming into. Yep, this is going to be my AVD workstation. And something went wrong. Oh, the demo gods are not on my side for that one. I could sort of explain what you'd see. You'd log in, you'd get apps. So much like any other Flex app setup, you log in, you get your applications loaded. Now, my 365 desktop worked. In this case here, you can see that my Flex apps are here in the environment. If I want to kind of prove, yes, those are Flex apps, I didn't just have those pre-installed, I'm just going to go out here into the Add Remove Programs or the Installed Applications section. And you can see Flex app right there. Flex app. So these are, in fact, Flex app applications that were attached to my operating system as I logged onto the system. They're available immediate. There we go. We're ready. So I'm not waiting a quote unquote Intune time for the application to show up. I got that application when I logged in, along with all my user settings and policy components and pieces and all that fun stuff that comes with that. Jason, back to you.
Yep, thanks. And we'll be coming back to Jack in a minute, so that AVD desktop may come up. We're going to move on to Profile Unity as a topic here, but Jack will be able to show both demos here when we cut back to Jack. Profile Unity is the full user environment management for both AVD and Windows 365. And there's occasions where you might want to use them in those specific environments for different features there. For example, Windows 365, a work from home user, you may want context-aware settings that specifically lock down certain things in that cloud PC environment. Whereas with AVD, you may want to have more context awareness in there and take advantage of things like location-aware printing and location-aware policies if they're inside of an organization. But largely, these are the things that Profile Unity can do head and shoulders above the basic benefits that you may find in AVD and Windows 365. With Entra ID, you're having less access to things like GPPs because in an Entra ID environment, you don't have access to GPPs. So you'll have a need to replace those. Now, you can do that. You can do certain things with Intune, but you cannot do them with the depth that you can do them with Profile Unity for policy management. Give you a full policy control in any cloud or hybrid environment. So it's often better than traditional group policy preferences. The advanced user and policy management, context-aware and granular controls that go beyond FS logics really give you full user management for all enterprise use cases. You know, healthcare, highly dynamic environments like education where you have users moving across campuses, across corporate campuses or anything like that. It takes into account any of those scenarios, being able to lay down different policies for where the user's logged in. Different applications may be assigned to those desktops given the room that they're in or the Wi-Fi access point that they're in or the compliance that you need to adhere to in the financial industry, for example. Are they working from home? Are they working in the office? So it takes into account all those types of scenarios and gives you great power to customize those desktops accordingly in a context-aware basis. The seamless profile persistence lets that user settings flow across any type of Windows desktop. So even across Windows 10 to 11, if you haven't moved to the next operating system version yet, and we'll continue to do this with our Windows 12 support that we're already looking to, and even across server versions as well. So whether or not you're in multi-session Windows or you're in a server-based environment for desktops, Profile Unity has you covered there, and then that way goes beyond even FS logics because it gives you one profile and not one profile per experience there. You can replace FS logics or you can extend it. So FS logics being a profile on disk, and we have one too called profile disk, Those are very much like a profile that can become corrupt at some point. Maybe a user halfway logged off, or something happened to the host or the physical desktop. If you were looking at old profiles, but not in the case of FSLogix, that corrupted the profile. We provide a hive of that's only invoked when needed, so it doesn't really impact login times. We provide a hive of that, so if the FSLogix profile goes missing, you need to reset it for the user, or the profile disk from Profile Unity. You can reset it, and then we'll provide that hive of the profile back from storage within seconds. It will rebuild that. Or if you're on a non-persistent desktop experience, it will bring the profile back every single time in that way if you choose to use that only. So the hybrid identity support, working with both Entra ID and Active Directory, comes into play here with Profile Unity for policy management too, because we support both in that area. And then we accelerate those migrations. As said earlier, one profile per user that follows them and adapts within seconds at logins. So there's no lost productivity time with Profile Unity. Jack, if you want to share your screen again, go a little deeper into policy management, maybe show that demo too if you got it ready for the AVD.
Nice. I was talking a little bit about those policy components. So those environmental variables that can be added back in, those registry injections. Printers are probably unlikely in a remote desktop, but that is a possibility, or drive mappings are a possibility if you have hybrid type joined environments. Folder redirection, you may want to redirect your folders to OneDrive, and we can do that through here, or any of the shortcut creation processes. And of course, there's a couple other things like old school pathings if you want to do stuff, message boxes if you have to have any sort of compliancy around that space. So there is a lot of different options that can be applied that may not be available in a nice, easy GUI format for you in the Intune interfaces. So you can bring that all together. Now, for the demo side of the house, this probably just looks like my desktop 360 I just showed you. And that's kind of the point, right? So in this case, desktop 360, slightly lighter blue swirly thing. And then my AVD desktop, a slightly darker swirly thing. But for the most part, the desktops should be similar. I should be able to go from my 365 desktop to an AVD desktop to a laptop to a VDI session, whatever it is, with the same profile, because the profile and settings are ultimately saved in the same place, that object storage on the cloud. Now, if you're always inside the network and using something like hybrid or AVD, you probably will end up using the file shares, right? But if you are going to do that sort of expanded universe, if you will, of supporting your user base across multiple different types of devices, that object storage would probably be a pretty good fit, mostly because I don't need a VPN connection for it. I need to be on the internet, and that is it. It makes things a lot more flexible, a lot easier for me to distribute policies and settings and configurations. And that's kind of what people are doing with Intune. We just do it a bit faster and have the full availability of all of the other options and pieces that are, that might have been missing from your traditional Active Directory and group policies into now Intune.
It's great. Jack, let's take a few questions because I see them. They've come in here, and I won't cite the names, but you'll know if you ask this question, if you're in the audience, and you'll know that we addressed it. And we'll take through all of them. I'll take some of these, Jack, and take some of the other ones. How well does Liquidware play or integrate with other VDI platforms? And they cited the ones that we cited, but yeah, then also AWS as well. And we could talk about Oporto. We could talk about, AVD with Nerdio and 365, for example, or is it intended to replace them as far as the workspace?
It doesn't replace the VDI platform. It can enhance or replace. That's really kind of up to you. The toys that come with the VDI platforms, right? So in the world of Citrix and in Omnissa, you got toys. There's going to be their version of layering and their version of profiles. Microsoft is going to have their version of the FSLogix container stuff. But we have all of those items, and then of course a couple extra pieces and parts and things that we do. So for us, it isn't really a matter of integrating with Citrix or Omnissa or AWS or VMware or whatever, right? For us, we kind of just consider it Windows is Windows is Windows because we operate within the guest operating system to provide those policies, those settings. So however you get to your Windows is how we're going to support it.
That's great. So I've got a question on Stratosphere. I'll get to in a minute because we're about to address Stratosphere in the next couple of slides. Here's a question about cost. What are the most overlooked cost drivers in AVD and Windows 365 deployments, and how can Liquidware help optimize resource utilization without compromising on user experience? This is an excellent one, and I actually had a slide in this deck, but for the point of time, I downplayed it and didn't address it, but we will on a upcoming webinar. But I'll address what's in that slide right now. So I'll answer your question. The number one thing that's overlooked when organizations are going to AVD is the cost of compute and the cost of storage. They think AVD may be free because they have the licenses that enable them to roll out AVD, and they look at it like it's only $3 or $4 a month. That's simply not the case. And you'll know this if you do a little bit of research. You can even work with AI to pull out these numbers because it'll tell you exactly what these are. But you're looking at in an enterprise of say 2,000, you're looking at closer to $25 to $27 a month once you take an average storage and average compute cost and things like that. Liquidware can help, and we'll show this on the coming slides here too, in helping you assess how your users are using your machines today from RAM and CPU, for example, and suggest the right instance to assign them to. So I've got screenshots of that, so I won't get ahead of myself any further on that. Thank you for that question. It's really excellent. When you're adding Liquidware into, when you're at a cost of 25 to 27, you're only looking at adding, 15 to 20% in your overall cost to add us to the stack. Can I use Liquidware to enable the hosting of multiple PC profiles on a single VM? Jack?
If the operating system is multi-session available, yeah. But it's not gonna magically make the operating system multi-session. So
right.
yeah.
Yep. Good question. Just a general comment. This looks better and admin friendly than where AppAttach was for MSIX. Thank you for that. They've also enhanced some of those things in there for anybody that's in the AppAttach program. But yes, you will find out that if you trial us, and by the way, you can get a trial on our website really quick and easy. There's a button up in the right-hand corner of our webpage to get you a 15-day trial. You'll see that we integrate very easily, and the user interface Jack was navigating is very robust. And then the final question before we get back to the next few slides: are you able to set up groups or teams to give them access to administer applications as required?
Give them access to everyone, teams for the applications required. What you're basically asking is, do I have to do a one-to-one filter to application, or can I do one filter with multiple applications? And the answer is yes to both. If you want to do just like the dev department and throw 5, 6 different applications into that dev department grouping or filter, absolutely can do that. You absolutely can.
Yep. So there's a great question about users receiving the apps. I started to misinterpret that in case anyone's thinking about how you manage this stuff through the console that Jack showed. We have delegated rights admin in there. So you can assign, if a person on your team for the admin side, if they're responsible for just apps, you can give them only access to a specific area of that. All right, we're going to get back to the webinar, and next slide is Stratosphere UX. And so we went a little deeper into both FlexApp and Profile Unity. Then we'll go into Stratosphere. But we do have some great use cases in here that we'd like to cover for Stratosphere. One of the questions that I didn't address, and we'll address it here, is what kind of metrics does Stratosphere look to for DEX? And Jack, what kind of metrics do we look at before I go through these bullets?
That'd probably be easier to say what metrics we don't look at. Kind of everything, honestly. So we can take a very high level. If you're still on-prem, we can look at that hypervisor level from a VMware hypervisor or Nutanix hypervisors. However, when you start moving into AVD, you're not going to have that hypervisor visibility. So what we're going to be able to do is look at all the systems, all the applications, all of the connections, all of the protocols, pretty much everything about that workstation all the way down to the PID. I think anything lower than a PID level visibility, you're starting to get into things like application performance utilities that will watch the process itself and go, it took 10 seconds to open up this and it took 2 seconds to run this SQL process. We're not that low of a level, and that does require often a lot of resources, and you have to template out the applications themselves, and it's very specific, right? It's a magnifying glass. It's not a much broader picture. But I mean, this thing has everything under the sun, from network connection information to display protocol information to login breakdown analysis. That one actually is pretty magnifying glassy because it shows every millisecond of your login, as well as startup and log off times. Every process under the sun, anything that's being used in that guest operating system, we're going to tell you about it. We're going to show you the CPU, memory, the storage utilization, network utilization, and GPU utilization against those applications if it is using a GPU. Event log information. I could go on. There's a lot of information.
Yeah. So the answer that Jack said, if you ask us, the answer is almost always going to be yes. Literally. It is not just surface level WMI data or just surface level network data or something like that. It is very deep metrics. And so the number one compliment we get about the solution is how deep we can go, right? The number one challenge we get is, now give me the information I need. Now we help you set that up. We've got dashboards, and we'll have you off into the races with just the things that you need for yourself, for your executive team to see the DEX metrics at a glance. And we even interface, and we become the data for your other data engines. So if you want to serve this up through Power BI, if you want this information to flow into ServiceNow, if you want it to start to interface with your AI agents and things like that, you're going to be really well set with the data we provide from Stratosphere in there. I want to go over a few use cases. Now we can baseline an environment, we can assess it for a month or longer, or we're better off ongoing, so you can see it at any minute. All the users, all the applications, all the time, all the data, all the time, like Jack said. But I want to address a couple of really neat use cases in here. We're going to show you how to size for AVD in this slide here. Now this is a Power BI report in here, and for this environment, we looked at the historical usage of Windows desktops in the enterprise before the customer was moving to AVD, to figure out instant types. Now there's like 5 to 6 different instant types you can choose from for different costs from Microsoft when you're going to AVD. In this area, the customer was looking at, as you see here, 3 different usage types. They wanted to know what users could they put into general purpose, which ones did they need to put into compute optimized for that level of an instance for AVD, and which one did they need for a memory optimized machine. So as you see here, we looked at this in these users over a month's time, and the way they were really using their Windows PCs, regardless of how that was, physical or virtual or whatever. We looked at how they should be assigned in there. So from day one, we help you save money with choosing the right AVD instance to roll this out for how your real world usage has been done. So that's a great way you can use Stratosphere. You can change those parameters. In this case, we said the parameter should be anytime you reach max CPU usage 50% of the time, let's determine which types of instance that should be on. And anytime you reach max RAM usage of 75%, let's use those in there to be able to determine which instant type to assign those users. Now, this works great when you're looking at something like Nerdio that does auto scaling, because when you start day one with a good known instant type for your users, you're going to be very efficient going forward. But then the auto scaling in solutions like Nerdio can complement that and can tune those into the future when you get into those environments. The other one I want to look at with Stratosphere is application reclamation. So you can optimize your software license usage across your enterprise. Now, this was a customer in the healthcare industry with campuses and multiple locations for their users, and they wanted to know how they could use Stratosphere to literally trim their license costs. They knew they had a lot of unused software licenses didn't know where they were going. Now, this is 3 graphs looked at 3 different ways here. So this is similar data here, but literally, let's start with the one on the right bottom here, where you've got the gray bars. The gray bars are those are the unused licenses. The used licenses are coming up in green. So this hospital organization was literally not even reaching anywhere close to 50% of the licenses that they were paying for. And we could use this to trim license costs and save this customer, when their renewal time for license costs came up, $1.73 million literally in license costs alone. The numbers don't lie. The graph on the left is same information but more detailed. In that colorful column there, it says unused licenses. The green number is where you're going to be saving the most, because you have the most unused, for example, the one that's green, Adobe Acrobat licenses. Over 12,000 people weren't even using Adobe Acrobat. Do you need to license it for every machine? Or could you put shareware or something on the other machines, or open source to read PDFs occasionally on the other ones? So, and that's also going to be the number one green one, where they save the most money, or could save the most money, by trimming license costs. These license costs were mapped in real world figures. At first we used AI, and then we vetted them against the real world license cost that the customer was actually paying. So out of 854 total applications, we narrowed it down to 12 licenses that they were paying for, and we're able to help them going forward. And that can help you have huge ROI, even with one of our digital workspace management solutions. I want to talk about command control real quick. It's one of the newest solutions for us. We talked about historical decks up into the last minute or so of usage that gives you that deep metrics and that stratosphere. Now let's talk about the deck solution. And we're one of the only vendors out there that has a 1-2 punch with real-time remediation. Reach out and touch someone. Know that deck's at a moment's notice in real time with a console. You'll see a screen of it here in a moment. It also works for AVD and Windows 365. It can provide that instant insight and action for live 3-second metrics that are flowing in actively when you're looking at it. So someone calls the help desk, you can instantly see the performance of this machine, and then you can compare it against other Windows desktops that they're logged on to, or that their peers are logged on to. Gives you that real-time troubleshooting, gives you white glove support when you roll out a new desktop, especially for a VIP or an executive. You want to see and handhold them a little bit, give them special treatment. You can do that with command control. It fills the gap of Intune, which doesn't really do full help desk support, so it gives you the live control. Fills the need beyond giving you just a quick assist or a remote assist. It gives you we can do that too, but it gives you the ability to start and stop processes, run a quick script, do a variety of things to support that user and get them back and productive. It gives you secure remote access, and by giving you the ability to choose the one that's best compliance for you, giving you a zero trust design to be able to take over a machine if needed. But that's one of the last things that you have to do with command control, because there's a lot of things that you can do to get that user back up and running. And again, it gives you that cross-platform coverage to be able to compare machines as well as support machines. Has a feature known as switch. So you can literally switch. So the person says, my desktop's slow, when they call in and say. The number one thing a help desk person's got to figure out, is that the bring your own device? Is that the cloud PC? Is that AVD? Is that the old Citrix desktop they have? You can figure all that out really quickly, and you can see all the desktops that users logged onto, and instantly switch beyond those with our switch feature. This is a screenshot of this. Jack, you want to walk them through the screenshot a little more?
Sure. So what you're looking at here is being connected to a workstation. And within that workstation, there actually is a session connected to that. So in this case, you're connecting to the VDI workstation, and from that VDI workstation, this guy right here, Jack Smith, is connecting to it. A neat thing with how we do command control is if I have an agent on the VDI and I also have an agent on that workstation or endpoint, I can click that little kind of like purpley looking splat button, and it will automatically flip me to the context of that endpoint machine to identify problems within that workstation, or get me that live connection to that workstation. The other items below, top consumers, top RAM consumers, disk, network, those are actually going to show the processes in, I would say, relatively real time, being 3 seconds. of what processes are doing what. So you're kind of looking at the top problematic issues that you might like view in Task Manager remotely, but you're seeing them all at the same time. Whereas in Task Manager, you kind of have to like flip the sorting around to look at these things. You're kind of just looking at all at the same time. Below, it's going to show you more of the utilization, memory, CPU, disk, etc., and display protocol. And if you had a VPN connection, it would show that as a different NIC. If you had a wireless connection, it's going to show you Wi-Fi strength and distance to AP, as well as what, SID networks and things like that you're on. At the very top of the screen, you're looking at a view history button, which then takes you into more of a DVR type record function where you can kind of zoom back and forth on a specific time frame and see the metrics move around and scrub to where you want to see. The shell allows you to open up a remote PowerShell command line. I think we're also going to be supporting Bash shells for Apple and Linux down the line. Diagnostics are going to help you do simple things like do a speed test, do a group policy pull, do like pull the logs from the event viewer, whatever that happens to be. And then scripts are things that we do these on a regular basis. They're predefined. I'm going to click on it. I'm going to run a script against this particular machine or user or whatever, and it's just going to do the action that is within said script.
It's great overview. Now, we've gone through a lot of material really quickly. You can go to a deeper dive of this. We've got YouTube videos on our YouTube channel there at Liquidware, and you can see in-depth demos of any of these solutions. And some of them are specific demos in an AVD or 365 environment, but they all apply the same. I'm going to recap here on some of the ways that we really extend AVD in 365 before we go and look at a quick another way that we saved another customer a lot of money. I think it was one that Jack had hands on as well. In the area of Intune, we give you faster app delivery. You don't have to wait for an app to go out. Did it go out today, tomorrow, the end of the week? Instantly, FlexApp apps go out. They happen in real time. Now, you can use Intune to deploy your Flex apps as well. That's a special ability that we have. We interface there. We didn't even touch upon that today. But when you're deploying them with the method that Jack showed today with our console, it happens instantly at logon. Apps on demand are a way that we can speed that up. We can also go into the company portal if you use Intune, and you can give apps on demand there in the company portal. We support Entra ID, and we've done this now for quite a while. So you can, any of the things that you saw today, you can roll those out with Entra ID or a hybrid joined environment. And then AVD App Attach was co-developed with us and Microsoft to give you that single pane of glass in there. And then with the way that we do Windows 365 and Cloud PC support, the dynamic apps actually can follow the user out there. So you can light up a user really quickly that way. Just because you've moved a user to Windows 365 does not mean you don't manage them any longer. We give you the ability to manage those users through Entra ID and through hybrid joined environments to give them that application access they need. You can tighten down security and things like that with policies for users that might not be an admin of their machines. Do it in a secure way to manage those endpoints. And then if something happens and that 365 machine needs to be reset because it's a persistent machine, if you're using FlexApp and Profile Unity, all the stateful things that made that machine themselves flows right back into that instance once you reset it. The applications come back, their profile comes back, access to user authored data come back, especially if you've customized that beyond OneDrive. So those are the ways that we interface there. This case study, Jack, that I wanted to walk them through, they did our value calculator on our website. And you can get to our value calculator on our website to see how we can save you money. We talked about Stratosphere earlier, how we can save money by helping size for Azure instances. We also talked about how we can help save money from applications. But in this case, we're going to focus on how we saved money in the dynamic app delivery and the user profiles of a pharmaceutical company. And we helped lower their overall storage cost through some recommendations that we did with our providing professional services environment, reduced their compute speed, and we improved their license efficiency by helping reclaim underutilized licenses, similar to that Stratosphere report we used, but we did this through a professional services discussion with them with the tools that they had on hand. But with Profile Unity and with FlexApp, this is a financial snapshot of how this pharmaceutical company saved a lot of money with a modest investment in Liquidware. They saved $1.26 million in there. And they did it by rolling out their applications in a better way with FlexApp and with streamlining their profile management. So the way that we optimize the image optimization is that you no longer have to have your applications in the image itself. We assign those, like we talked about with FlexApp, dynamically at user login. The application lifecycle efficiency gave them a more powerful and easier to use way to update their applications, because you update just the application, not the base image. And when we hadn't even talked about some of the deluxe features in FlexApp that are so powerful, like our automated packaging, like some of the Sparks that Jack himself have helped build that can even update things on the fly with Winget and Chocolatey and things like that, so you can check for the latest package out there. We streamlined their profile management, so they got rid of cached areas and they reduced their storage costs in there. And they reduced the number of licenses that they were going to have to procure going forward. So when their renewal date comes up with their vendor of choice, like you saw in some of those slides earlier, they are armed with the information that they need to go out there and save money and then deploy those applications in a very effective way with the context-aware settings just to the users that need them with FlexApp. And then infrastructure optimization, giving them that ability to ensure that they chose the right instance of, or that they were going to choose the right instance that they needed in the cloud-based desktops, like you saw earlier today as well. So you can do your own value calculator on our website. It only takes about 2 or 3 minutes, and you can find that under the resources tab of our site. There's a link to it here too. If you want to scan that barcode in and do it from your phone, you can do that, and you can wind up on that page easily for our web value calculator. Takes about, I said, a couple minutes, can happen in as little as 60 seconds. We'd love to meet with you to talk about any of the solutions that we discussed today. And at this point, we're going to take a minute for any questions that we may still have that are outstanding.
There is a question in the chat. They currently use Omnissa with Profile Unity, with Profile Disk. Can you continue to use Profile Unity in Azure? And the answer is yes. Profile Disk, however, would have to be on SMB storage. It does not support blob storage.
When you add Nerdio and FlexApp, Profile Unity and Stratosphere is at really a fraction of the cost. I would say that you start to look at a cost that may be starting to come similar to some of your other solution sets, but the benefits that you gain are going to be greater when you use our suite, because it's going to be able to cut that user across any of their Windows desktops in there. And we can be very cost effective when you add Nerdio, if you need that solution, or they have some other, there's other options out there that do similar things to Nerdio in the market now. Profile Unity does work with Azure Blob Storage seamlessly. And we're hearing from one of the leaders at WWT, a well-known consulting firm out there, an integration firm, that AVD plus Nerdio and Liquidware is a, I'm going to summarize, is a winning combination. Rehydration of the profile is what we're doing at this customer site. Not fully deployed yet, but it does work very well. In this case, the person stating the statement is talking about our ability to rehydrate the profile. If in a non-persistent environment, Profile Unity will rebuild that profile, or if the profile becomes corrupt, if you're using it with FSLogix, we will rehydrate that profile, and the statefulness of that machine will be there. All right. Let's get to the most important thing of the day, Andrew.
Yes, let's do it. All right. Thank you so much, Jason and Jack, for presenting, and for everyone else joining us today. Thank you. We really do appreciate it. Before we wrap up, it's time for our giveaway. Which one of our lucky attendees will be taking home a Nintendo Switch 2? Well, that winner is the one, the only, Quentin Home. Congratulations, Quentin. We'll be following up with you directly after the session to confirm some shipping details.
With that, I'd like to thank Andrew. I'd like to thank Jack. Andrew, do you have anything to add to that?
That's it. That covers it. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today on behalf of the entire team here at Liquidware. Thank you for spending time with us, and we hope to see you at the next webinar.